I am delighted today that we get a chance to really sit with, I think, community legends in the making. So Dr. Provines and Cindy, thanks so much for carving out the time for us to talk. And really, I think, to bookend this really great series with the work that you've both been doing. So thank you so much. So I think maybe we'll just jump right in. So I'll start with you, Dr. Provine. So, you know, the Suspenders for Hope mission really came out of the wellness department, right, at Wichita State University. And what's been beautiful is that it started there as its home, but it has actually kind of grown legs and spread beyond that community. So can you talk about the program a little bit and maybe what the partnerships like, you know, Ascension Via Christi and have meant to helping to kind of broaden the reach and scope?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I had the pleasure and the privilege of being able to, you know, help develop this program, which was really designed to shift cultures and to encourage people to end the stigma around mental health and to promote mental wellness and to learn about how we can help raise awareness of suicide and give people the tools that they need to intervene. Right. So we developed a training, you know, we developed the Suspenders for Hope campaign, and it was really more, it was more than just, you know, the counseling department at Wichita State supporting its students.
I see.
And it was more than the university supporting the students. We wanted it to be a community that supported each other.
Sure. Okay.
And so that was how we got that started at Wichita State, and it really is a passion of mine. You know, it's a heart project because like so many people, I have also experienced a loss to suicide, and so we want to make sure that others don't have to go through that. And so when it was so successful at Wichita State, you know, we kept expanding it. We developed a curriculum, we took the training online, and then we decided that we just wanted to reach more people. We wanted to reach more people with this message of hope. And that's when Ascension Via Christi came in. You know, they had received a Coles Care grant to focus on youth mental health and suicide prevention in the Wichita community. And you know, they didn't have a program, but they learned that, you know, Wichita State was taking our Suspenders for Hope program off of campus and into the community, and that's when the great partnership really developed. And you know, Bishop Carroll High School with Cindy here was one of the first high schools to really adopt the program and really just take it through their whole school. So
that's really incredible.
It's been fun to see the way it's just been growing and seeing the shirts out in the community and the symbol of pride. You know, mental health doesn't have to be a shameful thing. You know, if you've overcome a challenge, then we want you to be proud and to share that. So other people know that they're not alone.
And there's power there, right? In those voices of victory. And I think the thing that struck me from the beginning is the orientation towards hope and resilience, right? And not just, you know, the pain and hurtful sides, which is a part of the process, but that there is hope out there for people, and being able to hear that and be able to share that. I imagine that's been really profound, and I'm sure that you're accumulating kind of story after story of people whose lives have been changed, or that they've been just empowered both to recognize what might be going on in the life of a young person and have some tools to walk alongside them.
Yes. You know, if you have survived a suicidal crisis, that is a triumph that should be celebrated.
Yes.
You know, we should be proud to say, I got through this, and I did it, you know, by getting help or, you know, by getting involved and finding a community. And so we should really be celebrating those. We shouldn't be hiding those. And by talking about that and being vulnerable and sharing our own stories, it's what lets us heal. It's what helps others know that they're not alone. And I think it's what encourages people to get help, to get through those crises. So we should be celebrating
Right.
all the people who, overcome their depression and anxiety and a suicidal crisis. We should be proud.
Yes, and so it's really beautiful too that your work has had life and breath in your alma mater in Bishop Carroll. And so, can you talk about how that happened or kind of came about, and maybe what the connection was there?
It really wasn't a particular design, We had partnered with Ascension, and they wanted to work with the local high schools, and we had approached a few, and, it just so happened that some connections at Ascension Via Christi with the local diocese. The Council of Bishops really got behind this and said, we need to be talking to our youth about this, particularly in the midst of COVID.
Yes.
When everyone was so isolated and lonely, and our world had been turned upside down. So there was really support there. And then a meeting had got set up to meet with Cindy, and people didn't even know that I was an alum from here. So
Really?
to me, it really was just this. To me, it felt affirming. It was a message to me that I'm on the right path.
Sure.
And I need to keep doing this. And I was so proud to come here and see, all of these Bishop Carroll students wearing a shirt I helped design.
That's awesome. So, Cindy, you've been coordinating the program. So can you talk about what that's been like, and then maybe share what the uptake has been like in terms of the people who've done the training, both on the student side and kind of staff side at Bishop Carroll?
Okay. So when Jessica brought it to me last year, we had meetings about it and everything, and it was a time, it just kind of dropped in, like it was almost a calling, because of the pandemic itself, number one. Talking to kids about, their mental health and those kind of things was really important to me, because they have to realize they've experienced a trauma.
Yeah.
And so talking to kids about not just mental health, but the suicide part, and making the correlations and realizing how things can go down a path. And then when she brought this to us, implementing something that gives me another tool to talk about mental health was really important. So I just picked it up and we just ran with it, and I sent it out to the teachers, and this is what you need to have you do. And luckily we have a house system here.
Okay.
So you have a home room, so
they
could talk to their kids, and they could say, okay, can you complete this training and all that kind of stuff?
Okay.
And then we'll give you a T-shirt, and you guys can wear it with pride. And so then they start the conversation in classroom, because
so it's almost like a small family discussion.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
hey,
So kids they know, so
Yeah.
it's not so intimidating. So
Okay.
it's kids that they're with for 4 years.
Sure.
Okay?
Okay.
So they can talk to each other and bounce ideas, and we don't take up the whole class time.
Okay.
It's made just off the cards. It's just like a 5-minute deal, but just enough where they start making it an everyday conversation. Was important to me last year. So we sent it out, and we had a pretty good success. I mean, we have a population of about 1,100, including staff and everything.
Wow.
And we think we could probably clear about 80% of it.
Wow.
We did have people that came back, teachers that reported back and said something like, well, they don't feel comfortable doing it. And I said, well, those are the people we're trying to reach then.
Sure.
Either
Wow.
they have an issue, or they need to be one of those people that can say, I'm here for you, or something like that. They need to know how to do that. And so that's why it was so heartwarming to implement the program.
Sure.
And then I just recently sent it out to the new teachers, the turnover of teachers, trying to, get them aware. And we have new counselors this year, so making them aware of it was important.
Okay.
So it's been really good to implement and just kind of get them talking.
Yes,
It's just get them talking, because
Absolutely.
so many of them are like this,
Right.
the whole time.
That's right.
And just reminding them that they can talk about things, and making it okay to say, I'm not okay.
That's right.
That kind of thing.
Okay,
So,
I love that. You said so many really great things. I liked your frame about, to lean into the discomfort a little bit, and to not shy away, because I think often we're only as sick as our secrets, so we keep them kind of tucked down or buried deep, or we can't talk about them, then they do become those taboos that maybe they are too big for me to handle. So I think that was really masterful to kind of offer that back as, actually, let me encourage you to step out of your comfort zone a little bit and to practice it. I really love that. Have you, in terms of just, stories from students or hearing things, what's some of the feedback that you've gotten from the staff over the time that you guys have been implementing this?
Well, from the staff, probably the biggest thing is, I do have a couple that they were not on board themselves.
Okay.
And just because there's so much on our plate, as a teacher.
Right.
And especially kind of reacclimating the kids to school and all that kind of stuff
Sure.
in their normal schedules and stuff.
Got
But some of them are like, I don't know how many emails I got that said, I had a sister that died from suicide,
Wow.
or
Okay.
I had a best friend that committed suicide, or I had one that tried it, but we went through therapy. We're still going through therapy. So how
Yes.
many emails were coming in from them? And then
Okay.
just the discussions in class. I had one of my kids, we're talking about it, and she goes, well, when I went to therapy, we talked about this. So she was open enough because
Yes.
we were starting the conversation. She felt comfortable. And then she shared it with the class.
Okay.
And everybody's like, well, I would never have known you were in therapy. And
Right.
so,
Right.
they all were
Yes.
like, oh, okay. And so
Yes.
then it just starts that conversation.
Sure.
And that was good because then I remind them of certain things. Like we talk about it like in our psychology, about getting rid of the stigma of mental
Yes.
illness and all of that. And, I told them the other day, with any mental illness, like in 2002, it was diagnosed for autism 1 in 150. 8 years later, it was 1 in 68. And that was all because people were talking.
Yes.
And if we can make that with every mental health issue, and then the suicide rates, could you imagine the numbers if we were all just talking?
Yes.
How they would drastically change.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so that's what, talking with the kids about that, and they all like, oh yeah, I'm totally on board with that. And
Sure.
so, yeah. I still have some that still kind of kick the system a little bit, but you always
Yeah.
do. But
Yes.
for the most part, we're reaching a great majority of them.
That is, that's so wonderful, because often, again, it's the thought that, well, what does it look like if someone's, feeling anxious or struggling with, these, negative self-critical thoughts? Well, it looks like you and me. And I think, having teenagers be okay with kind of sharing those parts of themselves gives them a chance to really be kind of a hero for their peers, and
Right.
hopefully a model that says, hey, if I'm struggling too, that I too can get better, and that there's hope for me. So, what a rich experience. It's really amazing that you're really on the front lines, I think, of helping, raise the next generation of really thoughtful, conscientious, and loving, young people into the world. Do you have some things that have developed just through the course of doing this work and sharing this message that might be maybe helpful takeaways for parents or teachers that maybe they don't yet have this this program or haven't been exposed to the material, but something that they could take away and use, or advice that you'd have for them? And maybe I'll start with you, Dr. Provines.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Okay.
I just want people to talk about mental health and be willing to be open and to be vulnerable. I think just doing that, sharing our struggles
Yes, okay.
is so huge. And I want people to check in on each other.
Yeah.
If you haven't heard from somebody, if they don't seem like themselves, check in on them. And then don't be afraid to get help.
Yeah.
Don't wait until it's a crisis. Get help early. There's wonderful treatments out there. There's a lot of help available. So don't be afraid to get help. And then if you have the chance, take a suicide prevention training that helps you feel comfortable asking the difficult questions.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice.
Beautiful. I love those. Yeah.
I would just say the same thing, because we talk about it in class all the time about it's okay to say, I can ask you 4 times, are you okay? But then I just turn it into, hey, I'm going to get a drink. I'm gonna go get some pop. Do you want to go with me? Do you want to go get some ice
Sure.
cream with me?
Yeah.
As long as they know you're there, just keep reminding everybody you're there. And that's
Yes.
kind of the biggest thing. You don't have to know all the right words, because you don't know everything. I don't know everything.
Sure.
So
Right.
as
Yeah.
long as you just say, hey, I'm here, that's usually the
Yes.
biggest thing. That's the biggest test. Everybody's got to make themselves more vulnerable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably the perfect theme to end our time together. I know there's more that we could talk about, but I think that's wonderful, having the framework of, how are we present to one another and supporting one another, and part of that is checking in, like you say, and making sure that people know that we're there, and asking the question, asking how someone's doing, doesn't put them at increased risk. If anything, it gives them an opportunity and says, I care enough that I want to know what's going on the inside. And
it's okay to talk to me about these things. If you don't ask about suicide, then people don't think they can talk about it.
That's right.
But if you say, well, are you having thoughts of suicide? And they're like, can I talk to you about this? They really feel like, man, now I can finally talk to someone about what I've been feeling.
Yes.
So yeah, ask the question.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dr. Provines. All right, we'll head back to the studio. Thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it, and the work that you're doing for our community and for our kids. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mitnaul, and thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.